Buy an S2000, they said. So I'm working on the S2000 here. Replacing the bushings in the control arms is my goal. Up here is the camber bolt. I've managed to get that loose. That one broke loose even though it was seized. But the main problem with S2000s are the caster adjustment bolts. So far what I've done, as you can see right there, I've taken a Sawzall. I've had to cut through the outer collar of the bushing as well as the eccentric collar in the center. On top is the nut for it. That is currently loose at the moment since I pulled the bolt out. The bolt wasn't seized itself, but the problem that these things have is the collar, and on the end of the collar is a hex head. It's a 24mm hex head. The collar seizes inside the bushing, and no matter how hard you twist it, all it does is twist the rubber around. There's no way to break it loose or to pull it down, because even if you broke it loose, it's not threaded in the thing, so you wouldn't have a way to pull it downward anyway. So the only way to get these out of the S2000 is to cut through them, pull the control arm off, and then take the other two pieces that you cut on the top and bottom. So far, as you can see right there, I've started the cut on the bottom bushing. I'm about a third of the way through. So my weapon of choice here is a DeWalt Sawzall, reciprocating saw, and I've got 18 TPI bimetal cutting blades. I bought 10 of them. I'm still on my first one. I was able to cut through the top with the same blade, and now I'm onto the bottom with the same blade. I'm going to milk it and see how long I can last. The key to it is just squirt some oil on the blade every so often to keep everything lubricated so you don't burn it out and make a bunch of heat. Alright, so the driver's side lower control arm's ready to come out now. I just finished my cut on the bottom, and that's what you're going to have to do to get these damn things out. Alright, so the camber bolt slid right out. Now this thing should come straight out. That's what you have to cut through, so that's why it takes so damn long. And I'd recommend using one blade per surface. I used one blade to do both of these cuts, but it took a little longer than I hoped. Okay, so I was able to get both lower control arms off the car on the driver's and passenger side. Here they are. I had to cut in 4 places, top and bottom of each bushing. You can't even tell where the collar is on the inside of this. They're just completely seized together. I had to cut the end links off on the sway bar on each side since those are known to corrode pretty easily. And over here, I'm going to have to replace those as well. I'm going to put new compliance bushings in. I'm going to put a new bushing over there and a new shock bushing. So there's going to be brand new bushings in all of these arms, as well as the upper arms. I'm going to replace the bushings in each one of those. Another thing I noticed is that each tie rod end has grease leaking out, so that rubber around the tie rod must be old and kind of deteriorated, so I'm going to replace the tie rod ends as well. So I think the easiest thing for me to do is just to take the entire knuckle off the car. Control arm's already off. I'm not going to separate this ball joint here. It's about 10 degrees in the garage right now, so I'm just going to try to get the knuckles off, and the only things holding the knuckle on right now are the ABS sensor line, the brake line, and the tie rod end itself. So once I can get all those off, I can take this entire knuckle off with the upper control arm still attached, bring those all back to my parents', work in a nice warm garage, and take my time rebuilding all these parts. This here's my progress on the passenger side. I have the upper control arm just loosely held in with these bolts to support everything. I got a jack underneath it, and I managed to get the tie rod end off of this side. That bolt's still pretty seized on there. I'm going to have to PB blast that and let it sit and let it soak, but as you can see on this side too, there's a little grease that came through, and the rubber is old and cracked, so both sides need new tie rod ends. So on this side so far, I've pulled off the brake caliper. That way that line is not holding the knuckle on anymore. And the ABS sensor itself was kind of seized in there. I took that bolt out and the ABS sensor did not want to move out of there. So instead of breaking it, since I know the plastic's going to be pretty brittle in 10-degree weather, I'm going to just take that home. I unplugged it, and it runs through a little hole up there. I took the grommet out, and there's a plug on top in the engine bay right down here. And I just unplugged that, so I'm going to take that whole thing back to my parents' house and try to take my time getting that out. Alright, so I've got the lower control arm off. I've got the upper control arm just loosely hanging in the 2 bolts. The tie rod end is completely off, and I've disconnected the brake caliper and the ABS sensor. So the only thing holding this on is the 2 bolts up top. And so I'm going to take these out right now, and the whole knuckle should come right out. Just 1. And 2. And here we go. Pulling the whole thing out. There you have it. The entire upper control arm still connected with the knuckle, and everything's out of the car. The only thing I've got to do now is do the same thing to the driver's side, and we'll be good to go. So here's a quick look at the wheel well with everything removed. You got your brake line hanging down to your caliper, tie rod end, and sway bar hanging freely. Lots of room for activities with all the control arms out of there. Alright, so I'm all done for the day. I got both knuckles off, left and right side. Upper control arms are still attached. Both of the ABS sensors didn't want to come out, so I had to take both of those out of the car, unclip them and everything. In the next video I'll put up, I'm going to be doing the bushing replacement in the lower control arms as well as the upper control arms. And I'm also going to be disassembling the knuckles, doing new tie rod ends, and I'm going to order a bunch of new OEM hardware. And for the rest of the life of the car, at least for when I'm going to own it, this is the only time I'm going to have to do this. Cutting these bushings out that are seized and everything. Like I said, the car is not going to see any kind of salty conditions, or let alone probably not much rain in my ownership. Just another quick look. Driver's side. The only thing I haven't done is take out the sway bar, but that's really easy. There's only 4 bolts to get to, and they do not appear to be corroded, so I think we're good to go on that. That is the OEM shock from the driver's side. And here's the passenger one. Those came out no problem. And then the passenger side's in the same state as the driver's side. Missing all the control arms and knuckle. And we're ready to go to the next phase. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe and stay tuned for the next one.